Hello and welcome back to the Making the Radio Cut blog. I'm Michelle, and this week we are still in best of mode catching up with Matt Haze, who used to be an on-air personality at WKDD, Akron Canton, left radio to do real estate, and now makes a living kind of combining the best of both worlds, doing podcasts for real estate agents. And I imagine through instant phoners and just Facebook, you still keep in touch with a lot of your old radio friends. Have they kind of confided in you any of the challenges they're facing?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is, I'm not going to name names, but I know a few of them recently have told me that they're so used to the way we used to do it, where there was so much freedom, and they would be able to talk when they want, talk as long as they want. Well, now in a PPM world, it's about getting in and out. You can't play you can't stop the music and play a music bit for 30 seconds to do a phone bit. You have to go in and out. You have to transition immediately in and out. It's forcing people to be much more creative, which is good for the listener in the long run, because we're having to shorten everything down. We're having just to give them the best and the most creative things that we can come up with. So from a listener standpoint, it's great, but it's difficult because we really have to think outside the box and really, what's the word I'm looking for? Really just come up with the best, really give the listeners the best, and it's more intellectual in a way. You have to think a lot harder. You have to work harder and to be able to come up with just the best to give people out there.
What are some of the things you've seen change since the time you were in radio a couple of years ago to the norms of today's industry?
Wow, that's a tough one. That's a really tough one. I think, it's funny, when I used to work for Clear Channel years ago, we were always joking around. People will always say there's a national format playlist that every Clear Channel station follows. And any of us who worked in the industry know that that's BS. That was never true 5-6 years ago. I've been working for Clear Channel about 3-4 years. Since then, though, it's a different story. We see more national programming. We see more satellite stuff coming down now. And I think we're going to see more of that. And I think that's going to become the norm. Thanks to the internet, there really isn't so much regional or local programming really needed anymore. We really can be more national, and there's pros and cons to both sides, and I can see both sides. I think you're going to see more of that. You're going to see radio really turn more into what television has been doing for years, national, network-wise. I think you're going to see more network programming. You're going to see more syndication, which for so many local jocks, I think that's bad. It stinks for them. But at the same time, that also opens up the doors for people that can come up with unique, different creative products that are available that they can finally have a national program then. I think you're going to see more of that, and especially as we see budgets cut down, as we see more advertising dollars being able to be spread thin throughout many different levels, I think you're going to see more of that.
Where do you see the industry 5 years from now?
5 years from now, it's going to be very nationalized. I don't think you're going to see as many local program type stations. I think you're going to still have them. They're going to be much more automated. I think radio personality wise and people that are working in the building are going to be less personality and going to be more behind the scenes, which is why when I talk to students now and they're going to school for communications, I tell them, you know what, you also need a technology degree. You need to know technology in and out. You need to know automation systems. When the system dies at 2 a.m, you have to be able to fix it right then and there on the spot. That's what it's going to be. That's what you're going to have to do. I think for people that are in radio, I think you really have to think outside the box and not think as an on-air personality anymore, that it just does radio. Kind of goes back to that content versus radio DJ thing. I think people that are in the industry that want to do that really need to think as personalities that just create content on all different platforms. You just cannot be the radio DJ anymore. You have to be able to cross all platforms, whether it's new media, social media, even television. Look at Ryan Seacrest as a prime example. You have to be able to have that type of ability if you want to be a personality. If you just want to be a radio person, then you're going to have to be more of a behind-the-scenes person. But radio will never go away. There's always going to be a need for it. In emergency situations, radio and television are always the places people will turn to. It's just that the programming-wise, the way they get it and the way it sounds is going to be different and will continue to change.
So what does that mean for someone like me whose dream was to be an on-air personality?
I think the one thing that people really need to think about is if you want to be a personality, you really need to think outside the box and not just as a radio guy anymore. You really do need to think along all different platforms, because you're not just a radio DJ. You are a personality. You are your own personal brand. If you embrace that, you'll be able to succeed. Look at people like Ryan Seacrest. Look at the Glenn Becks. They do radio, they do television, they do live shows, they do everything. If you want to succeed in the entertainment industry in the future, because radio is just a form of entertainment, you need to embrace your own personal brand. You need to be able to cross platforms. It's going to be a lot of fun if you do that, and it opens up more doors than you could ever imagine. But if you just want to be just a radio person, then most of the radio people in the future are just going to be behind-the-scenes people. But if you want to be on air, you have to be able to adapt. You have to be able to be more creative than ever before, and you have to be able to embrace every single different platform to be able to grow your brand, because people are looking for entertainment more than just radio and television anymore. It's so many different platforms. And if you can embrace that, if you can love that, if you can be able to translate across all of them, in the future, you'll be a huge success. You will be able to be you and your personality. It's just that you're going to have to embrace so many different things. And I think a lot of it also, too, is niche. I mean, for me, I left radio so I could sell real estate for a few years. And I was the most miserable I've ever been when I sold real estate. I did it purely, I'm not going to lie, for my family. They hated me being, and my girlfriend at the time, they hated me being in radio, albeit I've been doing it since I was 14 years old. You know, it's what I know and love. But when I decided to get back into the media, I found a way to be able to put the two of them together, which is why I do, real estate, radio, television, podcasts, and online videos now. I've embraced that you can do so many different platforms, and if you find a niche, if you find something that you're really good at, Seacrest is kind of the next Dick Clark. That's what he's good at. Glenn Beck is good at being the crazy conservative guy on television and radio. That's what he's good at. He's able to be entertaining and informative at the same time. If personalities can embrace that and not just be the voice on a station, if you can really find your own thing, which takes time, you'll be able to be a huge success. That's going to be the future, and that's how you're going to be able to open the doors to more than just radio stations. You'll be able to find local businesses or media companies that are looking for someone that's different. That's how you're going to be able to really succeed in the future.